And good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Good morning and happy Friday. As Dr. C likes to say, happy Friday. I'm so glad we made it through this week. And this week went really fast. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but it went rather quickly. I guess I'm kind of okay with it because it's been cold. I don't like the cold. I'm a warmer weather person, which is probably why I live in Georgia, but it was still cold this week. It was still in the 40s. It's like we're so close to spring. So close to green cars and runny eyes and what's it, watery eyes and runny noses. It's like, oh, because that means the pollen's coming. And if you lived in Georgia, you kind of get the joke. You're going to walk out one day and your car's just going to be green because that's all you can do. It's crazy because that's how much pollen is in the air. So with that, let's get into our Kids Corner.
That your worries disappeared? For 6-year-old Zavi, one giggle-filled day would teach him more than all the toys his family could buy. One morning, Zavi spotted a girl sitting alone on the park bench, staring at the ground. She didn't have toys, but her eyes held a quiet sparkle. Her name was Lenny. She had no shiny toys, but she had a silly laugh that sounded like bells. Zavi decided to sit beside her just to hear it again. They played tag, made silly faces, and laughed until their cheeks hurt. Zavi realized the laughter felt more valuable than the robot in his pocket. One afternoon, Zavi gave Lenny his toy robot. She gasped, then laughed again. Somehow, his heart felt lighter than ever before. That night, Zavi told his parents, "I gave away my toy today, but I think I got something bigger back." They smiled, knowing he understood. Zavi learned, true richness isn't about what you own. It's about moments that fill your heart. And laughter, that's the richest gift you can give.
Yeah, so let's remember to take time to laugh, especially in these trying times. And there are some trying times that we have. And that's exactly why I do prayer with Fridays, just to really recenter and refocus. We've got people that we've lost, in the conflict going on in Iran, and having a smile and just sharing some love, it goes a long way. So let's make sure that we are doing that for one another. And with that, let's get into our prayer for this morning to honor God with our body. So God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please help my ears listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please help my feet to walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if you are just joining us for the first time, that is something that we pray daily, or we might have another prayer in place of that. But I've been focusing on that one because, we need to really focus on, honoring God with our body, especially with our mind, ears, and eyes. I think about those first three, and it's like, it's really important because we're bombarded with so much information, and we have to sift through what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. Because you got to remember, we still have the Smith-Month Modernization Act. So our own federal government can lie to us about things that are going on, and they don't have to tell us the truth. I just want to put that out there. I mean, we just have to make sure that we keep that top of mind and that we're aware of it, right? So that we can make sure that we're doing our due diligence to look at the truth. So I wanted to pull up one of the first videos. And this is about a project going on in Kennesaw. There is a individual and she's running for Congress. And I wanted her to share this with us.
My name is Tori Branham. I'm running for Congress in Georgia's District 12, and I like to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on across the state as well as obviously on the federal level. Well, I just came across this very interesting project that's currently underway in Kennesaw, Georgia. It's a 61,000 square foot Muslim dining and shopping facility. The real estate developer is Sam Awad. He is Palestinian, and the construction company is Estes and Sons, which is owned by Brian Estes. They are creating this facility and renting to vendors who are community friendly. They are highlighting Yemeni coffee shops, which provide a safe space for Muslims to go and hang out that's alcohol free and noise free. Well, in the video, he jokingly calls it the Gaza Strip. And they got a lot of pushback from the local community as well as surrounding neighborhoods. And I think y'all need to see what is being built right here in Georgia.
What's up, people? All right, I'm trying to teach my more on Instagram, and the reason for it is because I want him to show y'all how he's developing this property. So right now we are on the Gaza Strip in Kennesaw, Georgia. We're gonna name this street the Gaza Strip. This is my brother Omar, my brother Sam, brother Ibrahim, karate attorney. This area, all of this land right here is getting developed. So how much are we building? 60,000?
61,000, Habibi.
The 61,000 square feet that's going up here, inshallah. And I want y'all to put pressure on him to start documenting this process so y'all can... What's up, people? All right, I'm trying...
For this beautiful Jum'ah, guys, I am officially announcing that we are pre-leasing. We have 3 buildings, 61,000 square feet over here on the intersection of Barrett, Piedmont, and Bells Ferry Road. If you have a retail store, any type of clothing store, jewelry store, dental office, doctor's office, restaurant, coffee space, please reach out to me, apply, send me a DM if you want some information. Needless to say, we have a law firm that is going to be occupying a space at the Walk of Piedmont. Obviously, I cannot release who it is. Yes, we did not have a choice in the matter. They threatened us with an ass whooping. Alhamdulillah, law firm is covered. Guys, send me a DM if you have any questions about the property. Inshallah, we'll have a space for you. What Yemeni coffee shop should we go with? And my brother Wasim flew over here from Michigan. Wasim, please tell us why you are the best coffee in Georgia.
Because we are the most community-centered coffee shop in the world. We made this just for the community and strictly for the community. We focus on quality and the ambiance.
Okay, so you definitely need to be in the Gaza Strip.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, ya Rab, guys, check this out.
A spot at the Gaza Strip in Marietta. This is a complex that hopefully is going to be filled with really high-end upscale tenants.
Yeah, we could move that trash can, put it over there in the corner.
I'm going to have a performance center for combat athletes. So we're here checking it out, seeing like if it actually gives us that high-end upscale look. And my brother Sam is talking with the owner right now to see if it's actually going to fit the space.
So if
So my thoughts are this: when you talk about the community, you're not. Are you talking about everybody that lives up in Marietta? Is anybody going to be able to go and patron this space, or is it going to be specifically for people who follow Islam? Because you're not a race of people. I'm just saying, you can be a community of Muslims. You know what I'm saying? You can be, just like you can be a community of Christians and be completely different ethnicities. It's weird. Why do you keep calling it the Gaza Strip? We are here in the United States. Like, this is stuff like this that's just like, we are in America. But somebody's allowing it. Okay? So apparently you've got people on the county board and the city and the mayor, and you know what I'm saying? You got like a whole situation there in Cobb County, because that's where that is, that allowed this. It just didn't happen. You allowed it. You allowed it. It's okay. That's what y'all want. That's what you want to do. It is very crazy to me. So wild. So wild. So now let's get into our trending topics on X today. I know I didn't do it yesterday because I had a lot of different articles to get into. But one of the first ones I wanted to look at was the Senate GOP. They are pushing for voter ID amid the shutdown. So I'm not sure if they're trying to do like a whole filibuster thing, but let's see. So Republicans are holding a marathon Senate debate into the weekend on the Save America Act, which requires proof of U.S. citizenship, like a birth certificate or a passport, for federal voter registration. The bill, a top priority for President Trump, ties into demands for full DHS funding after 5 weeks of partial shutdown, affecting 100,000 workers, while polls show broad public support for voter ID measures. Democrats call it suppression and block with a filibuster, prompting GOP ideas like budget reconciliation to bypass the 60 vote threshold. Well, they need to do something because this is ridiculous. So here's Scott Jennings forces the CNN panel to face the reality of what Democrats are doing to TSA workers with government shutdown. It's unconscionable. Jennings, I live in airports. Yeah, because he does travel a lot. These poor TSA people, they've missed 2 paychecks. They're about to miss a third one. So let's see what Mr. Jennings has got to say on this.
By the way, it can't come a moment too soon. I live in airports. These poor TSA people, they've missed 2 paychecks. They're about to miss a third one. They're having to call out in places. Hundreds have already quit. They have to make ends meet. They got to get other jobs. It's unconscionable what we're doing to them. And also, given the security and terrorism threats in the United States, having this shut down right now, I do think the Democrats are risking a lot of blowback. But I've been in and out of a lot of airports. It's been hit and miss. Some long lines and some have been okay. But that's the thing. You don't really know what you're going to get when you show up right. By the way, it can't come a moment to.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get. And the Senate shouldn't even think about taking a recess, not even for a weekend, until 1, Save America Act is passed, 2, DHS is fully funded. Pass it on if you agree. I agree. And here's John Solomon Thune, who's Senator Thune, warns Senate's April recess could be canceled if DHS shutdown continues. Well, that's a good thing because y'all are still getting paid by these workers out here that can still afford to work for you for free, by the way. They're holding on the best they can. It's just gross. It's gross what's happening. And this next one, a Greek parishioner firmly escorts a man from a church liturgy. So apparently a man decided to interrupt a Greek Orthodox church. So a video from March 19th shows men at the Greek Orthodox church escorting a man dressed in Muslim attire out during a service, drawing online praise as they stand for sacred spaces. Protesters like Homer Pavlos called it resistance to disruptions, contrasting it with public Muslim prayers in places like New York City's Times Square and amplified mosque calls in U.S. cities. While unverified claims describe the man's intent as showing dominance, the church resumed services peacefully amid talks of cultural tensions in the neighborhood. So I'm not sure if this is in America or if this is somewhere else. And some Jason American Patriot says, I believe the answer is yes. Christians do not go into the streets and play worship music on loudspeakers. Actually, they do in some areas. I'm not saying they don't. They do. You've got your corner stop preachers. You've got people having, the John 13, but they're not disrupting traffic. They're not stopping people from walking. They do. That's the problem. And they're doing this purposely to be disruptive because they don't do this in Muslim countries, by the way. There have been Muslims who have said, yeah, they don't do this over in Muslim countries because there's no need to seek any kind of dominance because they've created that dominance. They're a death cult. And here's my thing. If y'all like all of this, all these people, these men on their, if you want all of that, you need to find that country and you need to go live there and you need to make a life there. But you can't do that here. All of this should be illegal because you are actually impeding people's movement. Period. You cannot impede people's movement for your religious beliefs because that is forcing your religion on other people. By the way, yeah, there's laws against it. I'm just saying, but who's going to enforce it? Not your city mayor. He's not at all. And it says, should the Muslim call to prayer be banned from the public in America? Absolutely. Arrest on sight. Arrest on sight. Do that in the public. You need to go straight to prison because you're impeding people's movement. You do not do that. Period. See, y'all don't want me to be president. Everybody be in jail. Be like, where's all the people? The traffic is so light. Well, you know how she is. She throws somebody else in prison. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be bad. So I know my limits. So anyway, so Right Angle News Network. So breaking. A Greek Orthodox church is being widely praised after swiftly removing a Muslim who attempted to interrupt their liturgy. They were honestly too gentle. Here's my thing. Again, I don't know if they're in the United States or not. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, we do have laws that protect churches from being interrupted like this. Now, I don't know if they have these things in Greece. I don't know where this particular church is, but I'm just saying, for context's sake, or I should say for conversation, if they are in America, that person that interrupted their service could be brought up on federal charges because it's a federal offense to do something like that here in America. Yeah. See, and this is where it gets back to, is the Islamic faith a peaceful religion? Because looking at this, it's not. You want to impede people's movements. You want to interrupt people's services. Now they can say, well, that's just a lone wolf. That's just a one-off. It's not a good look. I want everything that is Islam off the American soil. And, I got to apologize to the Nation of Islam, but they're not interrupting people's church services. They're not doing stuff like that. So it's just hard to understand why other people are doing this, right? Why are other people doing this? It's weird. It's weird. It makes no sense at all. I want to just check my microphone really quick. Make sure okay. Audio device is doing well. All right. And then the last one we've got. Is that the same one? Let me make sure. Oh, it changed. Okay. I had a different topic. But okay. Like I said, it can change the topics depending on what happens. And it can change within a few minutes. The one thing I was going to cover was a Chicago man that threatened to kill people on the Chicago train. But that has changed to Tulsi Gabbard confirms ODNI took custody of Puerto Rico voting machines. So let's check that out. So the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, testified that her office took custody of the machines last May at the request of a Puerto Rico federal prosecutor to probe potential vulnerabilities in coordination with the FBI. The machines from Dominion Voting Systems, which had glitches in 2024 primaries, remain stored there with no similar actions in their territories and no evidence of foreign hacking found. So Republicans celebrated the move as a step toward exposing election issues, while Democrats voiced doubts amid ongoing partisan divides over integrity claims. Yeah, they're always going to be on the side of the argument that serves them. That's who they are. So breaking. Tulsi Gabbard just confirmed her office seized voting machines in Puerto Rico. They are now locked down in a secure ODNI facility for forensic review. This is the first major step move to expose potential 2020 fraud in the territories. You know, I really like her for president or vice president. What do y'all think? I like it. I mean, I would love to see her and RFK run as a ticket. I think it would be good. I think they would get a lot more done than what we see now. Just the things that are happening. And I feel bad with the whole glyphosate thing and them trying to make it seem like it's a national, that it goes like a national security issue. And I was just like, what? So you still want to kill us with a cancerous agent? But hey, we'll be safe, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. It's just weird. We live in a different world, in a different time. Okay, let's see the next one I want to get to. Now, this one is from Bandot Video with Alex Jones on InfoWars, and it gets into Charlie Kirk, some things that were said before he passed, TPUSA, and also Mr. Joe Kent that recently stepped down from his position.
1 week after Charlie Kirk was killed, I broke exclusively on air from inside White House sources. It was a cabinet meeting with Tulsi Gabbard, Kent, the vice president, the president, and others, and that Cash Patel was there and blew up and said, I don't want you involved in intel domestically, even though Gabbard's supposed to do that and oversee all the agencies. And even though Patel basically pushed for FBI director saying he wanted to get them out of the intelligence business and get rid of the FBI building and all the rest of that, turned into a museum, the Hoover building. And now Ken has come out on Tucker Carlson, will play the clip here in a moment, and said, yeah, they ordered basically a cover-up of foreign involvement. They said they found evidence of that. And you can guess who, so that adds a lot of credibility to Israel being involved in Charlie Kirk's murder. The whole time I was just simply saying we need to see evidence, even though they had a motive. But he had the president's ear. President Trump was listening to him. He was helping keep Trump out of the war with Iran. And he had to be gotten rid of. So now Israel is the prime suspect in that. They've conducted a foreign policy coup over America. Now they're trying to do a domestic coup over America. And it's just incredible that we're sitting here watching this happen in real time. So communist China was the main threat before. Now it's actually Israel. When it comes to espionage against this country, we're in a lot of trouble. God bless Joe Kent and pray for him. They're trying to set him up and claiming that he illegally leaked stuff. That's all been disproven already. It's just a dangerous time to be alive, and just we need to be maximally engaged. Exposing this is setting with the patriots and the government to tell the truth. So sad to see the Trump administration go sideways like this, but hopefully, like Joe Kent said, Trump will correcting it back on course. Here's what he had to say on Tucker Carlson, who's also under attack, of course, and needs our support and prayers.
So we knew each other, and the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing in the stairway, and I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small. You've been in the West Wing. It's small. It's a tight space. And he said, Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran. Very loudly.
He was single-minded.
And he walked off, and he went, I believe, into the Oval. So when one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocally advocating for us to not go to war with Iran and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis, and then he's suddenly publicly assassinated, and we're not allowed to ask any questions about that, it's a data point. It's a data point that we need to look into.
What do you mean when you say we're not allowed to ask any questions about that?
We've been told that this individual, Robinson, is a lone gunman, and maybe he is. But the investigation that I was a part of, the National Counterterrorism Center was a part of, we were stopped from continuing to investigate. And the FBI will say that they stopped that because they wanted to turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
No, I don't think you are.
because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump against this war with Iran.
The voting American public will have grown up with the images of Gaza splashed across their screen. They will not want to support Israel. America will likely, within the next 10 to 20 years, withdraw support from Israel. If they aren't standing on their own by that point, it's over, right? So to them, they bet everything on this operation, from Gaza to Syria, Lebanon, Iran. They bet it all, because they knew if they don't succeed in getting Iran, they're screwed. It might not be now, it might not be tomorrow. In 10 years, 20 years, they have signed their own death warrant. If they destroy Iran, and in doing so, cripple America to a large degree, they will be independent. They will be able to stand on their own, as we've seen in the Eighth Front War clips of Benjamin Netanyahu saying we're becoming a primary power on the world stage as soon as Iran gets taken out. They want to become a hegemonic power in the Middle East with no competitors and sort of monopolistic control of the entire area, which of course is the center of the world and the crossroads of so many trading routes. So if you're Israel and you have put the existence of your nation on the line, are you going to put up with this one dude who, by the way, Zionists have supported the whole time? The only reason he's in the position that he's in, the only reason Charlie Kirk was in a position to advocate to President Trump, the only reason he was in a position to have all of the influence he did over American politics was because Zionists supported him, helped him build his organization, gave him money, got him the connections. He's going to turn around and use that to not just prevent a war with Iran, but in their worldview, preventing a war with Iran is destroying Israel. So you're going to let this guy who you built up destroy your country by preventing you from getting the one thing that you need to make it all worth it, war with Iran? The point is that the idea that an assassination might be a good solution to this problem is not out of the ordinary, is not so far-fetched. Which is why I've always thought it was a little bit ridiculous when people are talking about, well, he had a Doge thing going on and there was $1 million missing from TPUSA. It's like that. To me, that's not enough to inspire somebody to kill a beloved person in broad daylight. Like, no, that's not. To me, that's not enough, okay? Starting a war with Iran, saving Israel from the consequences of their own, actions over the last 2 years, that's something that's worth it. That's something that suddenly it rises to the level of, an existential decision, and they made their decision. Or maybe not. Again, Joe Kent is just saying that it was never allowed to be investigated, which, if they were innocent, maybe it would have. But it's beyond just that. And that's sort of the big headline, and that's the big, red text at the top of the article, right? Joe Kent reveals, what Charlie Kirk said to him at the very end and all that stuff. To me, the more important thing is the fact that whoever killed Charlie Kirk, and let's just say and take it for granted that, Joe Kent was hinting that Israel had something to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That is just one part of a gigantic coup against the United States, an overthrow really of the United States government, specifically the executive branch and our foreign policy division, by a foreign state of Israel. Now, again, killing Charlie Kirk was a horrible crime and obviously, in service of this greater mission. But that greater mission of overthrowing the United States basically just destroying our ability to have elected representation and actually fulfill our demands. This is monumental, and that's why now is the time to, we have to strike while the iron's hot. This is a major historical moment that the second in command of the entire intelligence community has come out saying that we are right now being controlled and subverted by a foreign power. This is absolutely huge. And this isn't just of interest to politicos, right? This is crucial. This is fundamental to the function of our government. This is extremely dangerous to know that our foreign policy is being dictated by people who don't really care about us and have completely different and possibly at odds considerations when it comes to foreign policy and geopolitical matters.
And not only that, but I have to bring up this whole, anti-Semitism campaign that's been really pushed. I was like, I had to look it up yesterday, and I was like, and I've even asked other people, I was like, I don't understand why they're trying to make it a hypersensitive issue. And that's just my opinion. It is being made a hypersensitive issue. And to Harrison's point, it's like we've got, Israel truly embedded in what's happening with our policies, right? And I'm like, okay. That's why somebody said the United States of Israel. I don't live in Israel. I live here in America. And I want to make sure that, we're focused on building up America, not getting into these conflicts that stretch us so thin, that it starts to, wear out our country. But we have people here in this country who don't like it. And that's when I have to say, okay, you can go. You don't have to be here. But I am grateful for Joe Kent's candor after leaving office. And, if that was his principle that he left because of some of the foreign involvement, entanglements he saw, and he was like, what, I can't be a part of this. And I can understand that because I've had to leave jobs based on, I can see where this is going and it's not going in a good direction. And I'm going to have to part ways right now. So I definitely have to respect that.
But I want to go to a video from my list. It says Kent describes his realization during deployment. I thought this was one of the most powerful moments in the entire interview. And I think it, in a lot of ways, sums up just how important and monumental and almost necessary Joe Kent's action is. And I want to play this especially because there's so many people out there, commentators, mainstream media, establishment, politicians, whoever else, saying that Joe Kent is motivated by anti-Semitism, as if that even makes sense. It's so... Truth is treason in an empire of lies. That, I think, is the phrase that describes what's happening with Joe Kent. He told the truth, and in an empire built on, supported by lies, run by liars, he has essentially committed treason. Now, they'll find whatever other excuse they need to throw on, their claims, but the reality is he told the truth, and that's what he's being punished for. Here's him talking about sort of his first inkling that this might be something that he eventually does. Let's watch.
Probably on my third or fourth deployment, as I was realizing that we were lied to get us into Iraq, and that we had a whole mess that we now had to clean up, and how much it mirrored and echoed Vietnam. I remember, as being in my mid to late 20s, being very frustrated with a lot of the Vietnam veterans who did not speak up against. And I know some did, but especially Vietnam veterans who stayed in service, as I had intended to do, who stayed in service and who advocated for the Iraq War. Colin Powell is someone who I have a lot of respect for the way he fought in Vietnam, his leadership in Desert Storm, but then the way that he was part of lying to get us into the Iraq War and then staying on and continuing those lies, knowing full well, having all the experiences of being a guy on the ground in a feudal war that was, basically we were deployed to under false pretenses. He had all that knowledge, and because he wanted to be loyal to, I think, the president, and I think he wanted to be loyal to what he felt was the government that would eventually get it right, he didn't step out and say, we shouldn't be doing this. And I just remember reflecting on that. And, I said to myself at the time, and this might seem, silly and idealistic, but I said to myself at the time, if it's ever my turn, if it's ever my generation's turn, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure this doesn't happen to the next generation.
So how incredible is that? You have Joe Kent in his mid-20s on the third of what would be 5 deployments to the Middle East, on the ground, fighting face-to-face with the enemy, and is learning that it's all fake and that it's all a lie. And I can't tell you how many people have had this experience and talked to me about it. I can think of probably 10 people that have been on the show, right, that had this exact same experience, where patriots joined the Army, went overseas to fight, and at some point during the deployment, they started thinking, what am I really doing here? Who sent me here and why? And a lot of times, people started listening to Alex Jones, and you've heard Alex talk about it. One of the reasons they hated InfoWars and hated Alex Jones was because he was talking directly to the men on the ground. He was talking directly to the soldiers and waking them up to understand, what exactly they were involved in. And again, I could name names of people who just exactly the same situation in Iraq, listening to Alex Jones and thinking to themselves, one day I'll be out of this hellhole. One day I'll be out of this godforsaken desert. I'll be back home. Maybe I'll have political power. And when that day comes, I'm going to have the bravery and the tenacity and the wherewithal and the patriotism to speak out against it. And that's what Joe Kent did. I think, again, we have to treat this with the gravitas that it deserves. Joe Kent is not some random, internet commentator. He's not some, fat idiot named Mark Levin behind a microphone talking about stuff that he has no concept of. He's somebody that has proven himself time and time and time again. Proven not only that he's the real deal, but that his motivations are as pure as they could possibly be. And this is maybe the most bizarre and disgusting thing about the reaction to Joe Kent is the projection of ulterior motivations. That's you don't need an ulterior motivation to tell the truth. You need an ulterior motivation to lie. If you're telling a lie, it's almost always in service of something else. It's useful. It's a tool. The truth is just the truth. You can just say it, and that's the reason why you're saying it. You don't need an ulterior motive. His motivation is pretty clear. He's trying to stop the cycle that is killing this country. He's trying to single-handedly, reach in and break us out of this feedback loop that America has been stuck in for my entire life, time and time again, going to war in the Middle East. And he lays out exactly the information warfare aspect of this and how it's used to pressure America and to align sentiment amongst the political class. Let's go to clip number 13 here. This is Joe Kent explaining how Israeli intelligence circumvents American intelligence to trick American politicians. Let's watch.
Nobody said, I've seen it, but you haven't. It exists, but you just haven't seen it. Did you ever hear anybody say there is intel that shows this?
I did not, no. But I know how this works. I know the Israeli officials, some in intelligence, some in government, will come to U.S. government officials, and they will say all kinds of things that we know from our intelligence just simply isn't true. And they'll say, hey, I'm giving you a preview. It's not in intelligence channels yet, but here's what's going to happen. And that doesn't usually come to
Wait a second. I mean, I thought that U.S. policymakers made their decisions on the basis of intelligence collected and or vetted by our intelligence. That's why we have intelligence agencies that soak up hundreds of billions a year. But you're saying that Israeli officials short-circuited the entire U.S. government and just went right to American policymakers and said, it doesn't matter what your country says, here's what we know? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, usually they're pretty slick, and and they'll say, "Hey, this isn't in intelligence channels yet because it's going to take some time to get there." And here, they're on the cusp of building a bomb. You know, they're going to. I don't know, you pick your topic. A lot of times they'll sample different things until they find what sticks. But in general, the narrative about, you know, they're going to do a preemptive attack, or really just they're going to build a nuclear weapon. And if we don't stop them now, they're going to build a nuclear weapon. And enrichment is the pathway to that. They're going to continue enriching at whatever percent. Enrichment became the narrative. And so that hung up and that short-circuited and really sabotaged the entire negotiations, because the Iranians basically said, like, we're not going to negotiate if the whole starting point is no enrichment. And again, that had nothing to do with a nuclear weapon, and the Iranians essentially agreed to that. So the Israelis came in, they moved that red line, and they would do a lot to say, like, oh, they're enriching, and you know what that means? That means in X amount of time they could have a nuclear bomb. You have to ask now. And then the way the ecosystem would work is that the talking heads on TV, you know, your Mark Levin's, Sean Hannity's, et cetera, they would say basically the exact same thing that night on TV, or there would be a piece written in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, that would say something very, very similar. Yet, if you looked in classified intelligence, we didn't see any of that.
So that really is as simple as it is. They come up with fake intelligence. They feed it to their mainstream media talking heads who do no due diligence. They are stenographers or just, repeater stations for the intelligence community. So you have not just Republican, Fox News people, you have the same story being reported on CNN and MSNBC. And by capturing just 5 or 6 people in these important positions, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, you have them saying exactly the same thing, reporting in on it as if it's absolutely true and they've done the due diligence and you can rely on this information. And so by doing that, you create the appearance and the illusion of a consensus. It's manufacturing consensus. But in addition to that, you go and tell the president directly that you have this information and that it's, above top secret, above classified. Of course, your intelligence doesn't know this. This is too sensitive for them to know. This is for your eyes only. And it's interesting because so much of what Joe Kent has revealed, we have been able to surmise just from, basic observation from what is known publicly. In other words, during Midnight Hammer, Tulsi Gabbard publicly stated that they had no evidence that Iran was on the cusp of a nuclear bomb. She contradicted the intelligence that Trump cited for his reason to go into Iran. And Trump was asked about this, and he said, he was told, Tulsi Gabbard says you don't have that information. And Donald Trump said, well, I have other information that's better. It's like, okay, Tulsi Gabbard is at the head. She's at the pinnacle. She's at the top of the entire American intelligence community. So from that clip alone of Trump saying that about, well, I have different intelligence that says otherwise, it's pretty easy to understand. Okay, it didn't come from American intelligence. It must have come from foreign intelligence. Who benefits from America going to war with Iran? It's Israel. Gee, I bet Israel is feeding Trump false information and telling him his own intelligence is, I don't know, working for the...
And the headline says, Trump announces Israel violently lashed out and hit gas fields in Iran, claims U.S. knew nothing of attack and no more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to South Powers Field. Again, hopefully President Trump will be able to rein in this situation he got goat roped into. Got goat roped, bro. You got goat roped. And now we're all here. And I know God's got this. But just to see everything play out, and that's why, a couple weeks ago, I brought up Mark 12, verses 5 through 13, because it does talk about, do not be deceived. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars. There's going to be things like this going on, trying to really throw us off spiritually, and we have to be focused.
Iranians or something. Trump announces Israel violently lashed out and hit gas fields in Iran. So Trump is sort of changing his tack here. This may be the breakthrough we've been waiting for.
My people perish for lack of knowledge. That's what the Bible tells us.
I want to get to some of these comments. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Spud. And he says the Don affect the United States of Israel. I know, it's so crazy. And Immortal, thank you for joining us this morning. He says, I moved to Zimbabwe during the pandemic. My sister stayed in the military and called me schizophrenic. Now she's dodging hypersonics and I'm chilling on the farm trenches. Expat or XD Americans are buffoons. Look, good on you for moving to Zimbabwe. I personally, I'm good. I don't want to live in a foreign country. And my whole thing is I need to have respect for the country to understand it, to live there. Right? Because I mean, I've thought about moving out of the country, but keeping my American citizenship and just going back and forth. Right? But yeah. Like, good on you. Good on you. Not all Americans are buffoons. And that's definitely an opinion. And Uncle Coolwater, thank you so much for joining us this morning. There are a ton of Americans that are very intelligent. That's why our country is holding on by a string. But it depends on the talking heads, again, that you are listening to. And there was a clip that I wanted to play for you guys here that's on X. Let me get it set up real quick. Bring it up. And this was something that was brought up, and it happened last year, actually. And this is a hearing that confirms American taxpayers are funding all of the following foreign terrorist organizations: the Taliban, Shabab in Somalia, Hamas network in Sudan, Hamas, the Islamic Jihad that's happening in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Kataib Hezbollah in Iran, and Hayat al-Qadr in Syria. So we're funding this. We, taxpayers, are funding these terrorist organizations. Yeah. Let's hear this testimony.
Are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
Are you aware that we are sending 40?
All I'm saying is we have a homeless epidemic in this country, and we're sending $40 million a week. Now, this happened last year. It hasn't stopped. And when the question was asked by Senator Tim Burchett, it had been happening. Okay, so you got to go, it had already been happening. They confirmed it. And let's just say the jump off point is January of 2025, $40 million a week. I don't even want to know what that number looks like, because that's ridiculous. We're in the billions, at least right now. But we have homeless people on the streets. We've got a huge deficit, over $37 trillion, but we're sending $40 million a week to terrorist organizations on purpose. Like, it's not like it's an accident. Like, they have a line item. What? There are just some things that happen, and how did we get here? How did we get off on this exit ramp in life? And why? Why is there an exit ramp what is going on. So I wanted to do a quick spot break. And this is a new sponsor to UVN, and I just want you guys to check this out.
Lineage, legacy, leverage. Genealogy is the lane. Community is the destination. But care, that's how we get there. At TBAT Task Force, we don't just research history. We reclaim what was stolen. For Black American descendants, proving who you are is the first step toward reparative justice and recognition.
Get 4 hours of expert research, a verified certificate, and a care-based session to guide your next steps. A $155 contribution doesn't just fund your search, it fuels 5 community positions. It's a cycle of growth.
Ready to claim your history? Start your journey or book a free care call today. Your legacy is waiting.
Yeah, and that is from the Black American Tribe. I wanted to bring up their website so that you guys can check them out if that is something you are interested in, getting your lineage done, right? Being lineage verified, as they like to say. And this can apply to other individuals that just want to know more about their lineage, right? And so here is the website. It is theblackamericantribe.com. And they, as you can see, they have genealogy services, descendant networks, and it is the TBAT Task Force. And TBAT stands for the Black American Tribe. And they are into lineage, legacy, and leverage. Okay. And what they do is genealogy verification. They have a descendant network. And they also have a Tut language preservation. So these are things that you can find out. You get a free 30-minute care consultation. They also comes with a new member orientation. Okay. So definitely check it out at the blackamericantribe.com. And thank you so much for being one of our sponsors. And if you would like your company, highlighted on our program, just send me an email at unfilteredvisionnews@gmail.com, and we will get your commercial reviewed and set up that agreement so we can, keep this show on the air and keep bringing people the news that they need. So now let's get into our next topic of the day. I was talking a little bit about homelessness, and of course, there has been more fraud found. Now, we all knew that California was going to be up for discussion after the whole situation that happened in Minnesota. So let's check out what the White House is trying to implement and do, but actually some of the fraud that's been found so far.
Front and center for the Trump administration, the president signing an executive order this week, launching the task force to eliminate fraud led by Vice President J.D. Vance. Its goal, combat fraud, waste, and abuse in federal benefit programs. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris joins us. And California is a big target, Jeff, for the administration when it comes to potential fraud, with officials already digging in. Break down the details.
So Dr. Oz, who leads the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, is currently investigating hospice and also home health care fraud in the state of California, alleging millions are being stolen in L.A. County. But he's not alone here. Independent journalist Nick Shirley also launching his own probe, claiming in a brand new video to have found $170 million in fraud. On Monday, President Trump signing an executive order to establish the task force to eliminate fraud, saying every state will be held accountable.
It seems that it's usually in blue states. If it's in a red state, we're going there too. But it seems that it's heavily Democrat.
Led by Vice President J.D. Vance, the task force aiming to coordinate a government-wide strategy to do two things.
Stop the fraud on the American taxpayer and make sure that the benefits that ought by right go to American citizens go to American citizens and not to fraudsters.
One state the administration is already circling is California. Dr. Oz, who leads the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, claiming earlier this year a preliminary audit found billions in federal Medicaid funds were allegedly misspent by the state on health care for undocumented immigrants.
In California alone, we already have $1.3 billion that they're actually paying us back on because they know they're ripping off the federal taxpayer.
And just last week, Oz also responding to a CBS News examination of federal data that found over 700 of the roughly 1,800 hospices in Los Angeles County trigger multiple red flags for fraud as defined by the state.
To take half the hospices in California, the ones that are illegitimate, based on the criteria we've been discussing today, and take away their ability to bill us.
But state officials telling CBS it's far from true that California is not engaging in good faith with the federal government. Newsom saying in January the state is taking a proactive approach.
2021, we did a moratorium on new hospice program. 280 we shuttered. We've been after this for years and years and years.
Meanwhile, independent journalist Nick Shirley also switching gears from Minnesota to California.
This is the sound of hospice money.
Shirley posting this video on social media, claiming to have uncovered over $170 million in fraud in the state's hospice and daycare systems.
The last few visits from the state have said that they have 39 enrolled.
And right now we're seeing about 5 children.
Sinclair's Full Measure also recently sitting down with multiple whistleblowers in Minnesota, one of whom worked within the state's Department of Human Services. She says prior to the recent widespread alleged fraud, she faced retaliation after refusing to approve problematic contracts that totaled over $1 million in taxpayer dollars.
You were immediately targeted and you were the bad employee. And from that point on, there was nothing you could do.
Now, the new fraud task force put together by the White House does include senior officials from multiple different departments, like Treasury and Health and Human Services. Officials must also meet deadlines. For example, within the first 30 days, each agency must identify the programs most susceptible to fraud and suggest preventative measures. Reporting for the National News Desk, I'm Jeff Harris.
Yeah, you would have thought they'd be doing this compliance already. But it took a young man with a camera to find a daycare center in Minneapolis, Minnesota that spelled learning wrong, and they got upset about it. It's like, bro, this is your company, and we don't even know how long it was spelled wrong, right? But you got mad at the baby, and now the baby is bringing all this attention. And my whole question is, where have y'all been this entire time? Because this has been going on way before him. I'm like, if you trace it back, oh, I'm sure this goes back decades that they've been doing this. But now they got to answer for it. Now they have to answer for it. So Uncle Coolwater says, I personally think that America trusts and support Israel too much. It's time for everybody to stand on their own and fix their own problems. We have enough in our own country. America first, everybody else, take care of yourself. And Uncle Coolwater says, can someone please explain to me what it is that Israel does for America? Because I'm clear what America does for Israel. And he also says, I personally don't believe America is in debt. People in debt don't have money to give to other people, right? So countries in debt shouldn't have money to give other countries, right? It's a lie. And they keep telling American people that we're in debt. No way on God's green earth we are in debt. And all of the money that has been stolen and sent out to other countries. Yeah, the bleeding needs to stop. I'm just saying. And Spud McKenzie says Dr. Oz is in Florida as well, exposing Medicare fraud. Okay. They are off the chain down here, like Minnesota with the fraud. And it all started with Rick Scott. Ooh, okay. Spud also says, Black Americans know everything. What's going on in Minneapolis is going on in every major city with a different immigrant group and a different form of fraud. Yes, because if you look at some of the footage that Nick Shirley put out. I'm not sure of the nationality of this gentleman that's kind of chasing him off, but you're not from here. You know what I'm saying? Like your accent gives you away. Your accent gives you away. But again, if they don't crack down and really start denaturalizing and deporting these people when they find out that fraud has been committed immediately, then they're not deterred from continuing to commit the fraud. Because I want to say, I think in Minneapolis, there was one company, they had violations and all that stuff. They just started another company. They just started another one and still got paid. It didn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to play this other video for you guys regarding hospice going on in California.
This was what we refer to as ground zero. That building is considered ground zero because it just was so blatant.
Hospice patient advocate Sheila Clark has been raising alarm on this one building in LA for years. This building, our investigation found, is home to 89 registered hospice companies. It's called the Merabi Professional Medical Plaza, and it's the most extreme case of hospice clustering that we found.
And this particular building, I noticed, I'm like, dang, how can there be that many licensed and certified hospices in this tiny little building?
We went to the Van Nuys address to find out what's going on.
We're going to try to go in and see what we can find. Here's the directory. Hospice, home health agency, hospice, hospice.
Can you come back?
Just looking at this directory, you can see
Why do they have
dozens
a
of hospice
gate
agencies
in
coming
front
up.
of their door?
The state and federal records for hospice agencies tell you a lot. State auditors have identified warning signs when they're looking for fraud, like multiple hospice offices packed into one building, or caretakers whose patients who are supposedly at death's door are discharged alive. According to our analysis, 72 of the 89 registered hospices in Merabi Plaza have at least 3 of those potential warning signs.
This isn't possible. It made no sense because I know what a licensed and certified hospice looks like.
We weren't the first ones to come to this building. Federal inspection records show that regulators visited multiple suites in Merabi Plaza between 2021 and 2025, and they found nearly 400 violations. At one, a nurse wrote that a patient's family was satisfied with the care, but inspectors found no one from the hospice ever even visited that patient. At another, the patient's chart listed medications for malaria and diabetes, but the patient told inspectors he wasn't taking either one. And at that same company, a hospice social worker wrote about a family's grief when their loved one had passed, but there is no evidence the patient was actually dead. These hospices have been billing Medicare for reimbursement with your tax dollars for years. Why are we still seeing such, rampant signs of this? Why hasn't more been done?
We're committed to tackling the issue until we root it out and extinguish all fraud.
So who's working to fix this? Well, the state attorney general is the one responsible for investigating the industry here in California.
California is always going to have the biggest numbers. We're the biggest state. We're the 4th largest economy in the world. We have the most people of any state. And but this issue is unacceptable, and we need to keep tackling it and do more.
We're also following the money here. Medicare is federally administered. It's your federal tax dollars going to these hospices. So we sat down with Dr. Mehmet Oz, who heads the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Is this accelerating the enforcement, the shutting down of these hospices?
We have dramatically accelerated our ability to take out the bad guys by stopping their payments. And that's the big mindset shift. I want to make it clear, we're not going to pay you money just because you sent me a piece of paper with a bill on it. We're going to check to make sure that's legitimate and that document is evidence that you actually performed something that's helpful to the American people, or you're not getting money from us.
When we went back to Merabi Plaza, we found the building.
And here's my thing. That's basic compliance. Basic. You did the service. Okay. You submitted it for payment. Like, hey, we provided the service. But before you get it, there should be some verification. But the reason why they've been able to get away with this stuff is because they know nobody verifies it. They know there's no auditing. There's no compliance here. Again, my question goes back to how long has this been going on?
Building's owner Kambiz Marabi.
I have vacancies. Tenant would come in as long as they're legit.
Yeah.
They have valid things that we need. I rent. I'm not a police or keeper of what they do, how they do business.
So from your perspective, they're licensed. You know, that's obviously the first sort of barometer of, you know, measuring whether
Correct.
it's a legit business or not.
Absolutely. And look, maybe state and the federal government, it's becoming restrict on many businesses, and I'm all for it, because at the end of the day, you and I are paying for all those things that are not right.
Marabi wouldn't let us walk the halls on our own to talk with hospice employees, but told us this about any possible fraud. If you learn of hospices in your building that are accused of fraud,
I would immediately
you would get rid of them.
terminate.
Okay.
Yes.
But that hasn't happened yet.
No, no one has ever come to me, tell me that, okay, this or that is doing fraud.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you. It doesn't work that way. And I hear what he's saying, because he's just a landlord, basically. You know, he's just supplying, you know, the office space for these people. It is not his job actually to be involved. But just like the gentleman in Minnesota, he was like, yeah, I noticed that a lot of people were opening up these different types of services in mass. And so I definitely made sure to check on them, because some of the services weren't even operating. There was nobody there. There was a name on the door, but nobody was actually there. So, you know, everybody wants to point the finger. Nobody wants to take responsibility. This is a mess. What I need is for all the money to shut off. Because you know what? If nobody gets paid, because this is federal, okay? Not state, federal. If nobody gets paid, a hit dog is going to holler, okay? And they're going to wonder where their money is at, because they've submitted for the money. Stop pushing the button. Stop giving them the money. Have everybody recertify, and then let it fall out from there. Those are just a few things you can do. Those are just like easy administrative things to me. And it boggles my mind. It's like, who do we have in Washington, and why do we trust you with anything? Like, this is a complete dereliction of duty at every level. I don't really blame the states. I blame the federal government for not doing better due diligence to make sure that our monies are spent properly at the federal level. Do your job. That's all. That's all we want. We just want you to do your job. And with that, I wanted to check out another thing that I looked up. Now, this might be a little bit outside of the conversation, but I wanted to bring it up because it's just one of those things. It's just something else, you guys. Does it fall necessarily under compliance? No, it doesn't. But it's a kind of one of those, this needs to change too, right? So I wanted Grok to outline bots used recently that have affected online popularity. Okay, so you know how there'll be some different accounts. We use X, for example, and they get more likes and clicks and views. Like, what is going on? Well, apparently, recent social media bots, primarily on platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and Threads, have evolved from simple automated accounts to sophisticated AI-enhanced networks. These tools artificially inflate engagement metrics like likes, shares, views, retweets, and trends to boost perceived online popularity, create false consensus, right? Astroturfing, and amplify specific narratives and influence public discourse or voter sentiment. They don't always change minds directly, but make content or candidates appear more widely supported than they are than they are organically known as, right? So this is another form, in my opinion, of the Smith Modernization Act. It's propaganda, but now it's just electronic. So the AI-driven bot networks on X, networks of dozens of accounts, some verified, using hashtags like hashtag Trump 2020, argued with themselves or made crude errors, central node accounts amplified content to followers. Many were suspended quickly by X, limiting real world impact, but they aim to boost visibility and engagement for Trump aligned posts. Yeah. So, coordinated inauthentic account networks behaving like bots. Now, this happened in the 2024 election. Real person run groups posting identical or near identical content at scale using coordinated hashtags and maintaining unnatural follower following ratios, a 1-to-1. So, pro Democratic hashtag Blue Crew, 951 accounts posted nearly 2 million times between July and October of 2024, heavily amplifying conspiracies like the Trump assassination attempt was staged. One post viewed 2.7 million times and reposted 10,000 times, or false claims about the House Speaker, Mike Johnson. Pro Republican, at least 437 accounts posted 1.1 million times in the same period, driving narratives like Haitian migrants in Ohio eating pets. These networks were primary drivers of content volume for viral falsehoods, inflating their reach and perceived grassroots support. So, social bots in midterm campaigns, Ohio 2022, automated accounts amplified candidates' messages, especially negative tone, shaped the agenda on issues like civil liberties, energy security, environment, and the election itself, and transferred salience to campaigns more than to the press or public. Emerging AI bot swarms. So they have all of these different chatbots, AI chatbots. So overall, impact on online popularity. These tools create an illusion of broad support by flooding platforms, trending topics, and inflating metrics. They polarize discourse, boost negative sentiment, and make narratives, true or false, seem organic and urgent. So platforms suspend many, but the speed and scale, millions of posts, billions of potential views, distort perceptions of candidate strength or issue importance ahead of elections. And we are in a midterm election right now. So we need to watch out for a lot of these things going on. That's why I wanted to bring this to you guys, because I was like, are there any disclaimers required in the post so the general public knows that these are bots, right? Because I think that would make sense. Just a very simple line. You know how they have them, and I'm annoyed by them, but the community notes, they're on X. They're just making sure, well, we don't think that this is truthful, and I don't care what you think. If it's authentic, it's authentic. But now I've got a battle with you, and you're trying to be like the thought police, right? But what I'm asking here is, if it's a bot, right, and it's not a human, there should be a disclaimer. I want to say with TikTok, they have something like that, and also on YouTube, if something has been generated by AI, you have to disclose that, right? So, no, there are no broad nationwide legal requirements in the United States mandating that social media bots or AI operated accounts include disclaimers in their individual posts stating they are bots or automated. So they're just running around looking like real people. And there's no disclaimer. And that's because they haven't been pressed on it. But I think we should be pressing on this. We should be pressing. I don't know if it would have to be on Congress to do something like this, because it would go back to consumer driven, right? Because we are consuming the information. So Congress could do that. No, I don't like bigger government, but I want people to be safe. And the general public should be informed, and people should not be taken advantage of. So it says, however, the landscape includes some limited disclosures, platform specific rules, and emergency state level obligations, mostly focused on specific contexts like chatbots, AI generated media, deepfakes and elections, or deceptive interactions, rather than requiring every bot post to carry this is a bot label. I want that. If it's a bot, it should have that, because people should know. They should absolutely know if it's a bot or not. So, yeah, that's my soapbox. Let me see, did I ask another question? Let me check. I said, in this instance of the current administration and past administrations, are tax dollars being used for this? That's the other question. The good part is no, tax dollars have not been used in the Trump administration or in the past administrations to fund social media bots aimed at artificially boosting online popularity or influencing domestic partisan political narratives based on available records. And that's a good thing, right? But we still need to make sure that we're holding people accountable, and that none of our tax dollars ever get used. Now, it says for the current administration, focus has been on AI for internal government efficiency. We saw Doge. Taxpayer funds have gone towards countering foreign disinformation, not creating domestic ones, right? Claims of censorship. Now, in the past administration under Biden and Harris, similar to Trump, funding went to anti-disinformation efforts, right? The NSF's $66 million for research on online misinformation, after partnering with platforms for moderation. So there's no evidence of bot funding for partisan gain. Efforts like the short-lived Disinformation Governance Board aimed at foreign threats, not domestic bots. Yeah, and everybody shut it down because they weren't going after people off the soil. They weren't going after anybody foreign. They were trying to curtail and control the speech here. And it was very evident and obvious, and everybody was like, nope, we have freedom of speech if you don't go somewhere, right? That all happened. It was really crazy to watch. So why isn't this happening, right? Because you would think people would want to be safe. Now, there are legal barriers. Federal funds can't support partisan activities. Domestic influence ops would violate First Amendment principles and risk scandals. Now, that's in using money to do this. Now, foreign versus domestic, U.S. taxpayer funds combat foreign bot farms, Russian AI ops creating fake U.S. profiles to sow division, not create them. Now, Russia spent millions on such efforts in 2016 to 2020 and 2024, but U.S. responses are defensive. Private funding sources, partisan bots, are backed by donations to campaigns and political action committees. So $305 million to MAGA Inc. post-2024 election, or influencers, undisclosed payments from super PACs. So there's still money in pushing these bots. But I just wanted to cover that with you guys because it kind of falls into, we're dealing with the fraud. We're dealing with our money going everywhere. We've got them sending $40 million to the Taliban. I'm like, what are y'all doing? It's just really, really, really crazy. Now, the next videos that I want to get into, I'm calling these political fallouts. We got some political fallouts going on, guys. So let's get into the first one.
Democrat House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries might want to start looking for a new job because, as things currently seem, in less than a year's time, he is getting kicked out of Congress. You see, right this very moment, the Democrats are absolutely tearing themselves apart, blaming each other for the colossal failure that was the recent government shutdown. And as many of you know, Hakeem Jeffries was one of that shutdown's primary architects. And so now, the far-left radical progressives within the Democrat Party are up in arms, saying that Hakeem Jeffries is too weak and not radically progressive enough. And so this is why, I kid you not, 27-year-old New York resident and member of the Democratic Socialists of America, Chi Osei, who is also a homosexual Buddhist and prominent BLM activist, is now looking to replace poor old Hakeem. And so I'll tell you what, folks, if you've been waiting for the Democrat Party to moderate itself and maybe even return to its senses, well, I'd stop holding your breath.
Yeah. Okay. And so, with that, let's take a little bit of a pause. That's why I created the Redemption Party. If you are a candidate and if you are somebody in the New York area and you want to run against Hakeem Jeffries, check out the USARedemptionParty.com. That's USARedemptionParty.com. We are looking for servants of the people, not politicians. Definitely check us out. We could be a good party for you and partner with you to actually, get you into the White House, because you see what other individuals are running. And here's the deal. You can chuckle about it, but if you don't get outside and if we don't run for these offices, that 27-year-old, he will take Hakeem's place. You saw what happened with AOC. She didn't have any experience. They picked her out of a cattle call as an actress. There's a whole video on it of her advent going into office. And she's been there. Getting what done, I don't know. Because every time I see her, I can't take her seriously. But she's in the halls of Congress, close to the purse, in the House of Representatives. Laugh all you want to, but if you don't get outside to make a change and a difference, individuals like that will continue to get into office. So again, check out USARedemptionParty.com. Let's get to some of these comments over here. Hopefully I didn't miss too many. Oh my goodness, y'all just been over here just getting it in. And Uncle Coolwater says, don't deport them until we get the money back, right? Claw back some of that money. And Spud says, what was the purpose of Doge? The purpose of Doge was actually to go in and do what Obama had done when he was in office. So the purpose was to go in and see if there was any fraud, waste, and abuse, and actually look at agencies or even parts of the government that may had overlap. And they could be like, okay, well, this agency, they're doing this job. Why do we have 3 more that are doing the same thing? Let's cut those agencies and let's put that money back in the budget and lower the deficit. That was the whole point when Obama did what he did. And all Trump said was, okay, well, let's use that same concept and let's use Doge. But when Trump did it, oh my gosh, we were stealing people's information and how dare you actually go in and what? We found out that billions of dollars had been wasted, especially in USAID. But that was the point of Doge. Doge was to go in and audit and have compliance. Those are the 2 main issues that do not go on with our federal dollars, with our state dollars, with our county dollars. Tell me who audits anywhere, any government entity. I'll wait. We audit corporations. No one audits the government. And if we do, they hire somebody on the inside that works in the government to audit them. It's disgusting. We need an outside firm to audit the government and to hold the government accountable with compliance. And that's why you have all these Doge entities now all over the United States. We have like we have a lot here in Georgia. I should say there's one in Henry County that I know of, and I'm kind of a part of it. I haven't really submitted anything yet because I've been busy with everything else. But we do have different Doge entities that find out fraud, where there's waste and abuse. They do FISA requests. They go in and do the auditing and compliance that's necessary. So that's what Doge's purpose was. It says you can't fake influence. Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, true. True that. And Spud also says the bots have come in here on Unfiltered, but thankfully you straight ignored them. Oh, thank you. I'm not sure if you've seen them trying to sow discourse in the midst of productive conversations. Sometimes I just can't get to everything. And I'm like, if it's like a flittery of stuff, I'm like, that's just weird. Humans are always like that. So I'm very careful. But thank you so much for pointing that out, Spud. And I appreciate you being here every day. You are here every day, every morning. I definitely appreciate you and the conversation that you bring to the table. Now, the next video we're going to get into, this is interesting. Now, this is an exchange with Jasmine Crockett, and I forget the lady's name, but they are having an exchange about men being in women's sports. Now, here's the sad part about this whole exchange. At the end of the day, men should not be in women's spaces, period. But what you don't hear from Jasmine Crockett, and she tries to turn it around like, well, you don't care about women because you didn't care about what happened to this woman. She never says that men should not be in women's spaces. It's that part. It's that part right there. You never say the part that's important for the American people. The American people do not want men in women's spaces, period. Bathrooms, sports, nothing. But you can't say that because, see, you work for the Democratic Party. You do not work for the people. So let's check this out.
The protectors of girls and women, I didn't hear them screaming this when Renee Good was killed in the middle of the street in Minneapolis. I didn't hear any protection for Renee Good, a U.S. citizen that was killed by the same.
Now let's talk about Renee Good for a second. Renee Good was radicalized, unfortunately, and she unfortunately lost her life. But to bring her up in this conversation is completely out of context. Completely. That's a border issue. Okay. That was a whole issue about immigration. We are talking about men in women's spaces, in particularly in sports, in this conversation. So let's continue.
People that the vast majority of you just voted to give more money to. I didn't hear the same thing. In fact, it was a lot of crickets, specifically including the women, as we were just lectured about what we need to do as women when it came down to the Epstein files. I heard crickets. In fact, we could not get any signatures onto that discharge petition to the extent that we shut down the entire House, and there was no business that was conducted in this entire country on behalf of our constituents. But let me be clear, the Republicans are going to protect girls and women because that's what this is all about. It's not about the report, because the amendment says it's about a report. Like, miss me on being protectors. Just say that this is what you believe, this is what you're doing. But don't come at us and tell us as women what we should be okay with, what we shouldn't be okay with, because it's just kind of like the same thing where I should be telling a lot of women on the other side of the aisle, I don't know how it is that you are not protecting women as they need protections over their own bodies to make their own decisions.
Mr. Roy.
I thank the chair, and I'll try to be brief in the interest of time. You know, look, the reality here is this is not about trying to give a middle finger to President Trump, by opposing this. This is about giving a middle finger to the little girls out there, like my daughter, who want to be able to play sports and not play sports with a guy. That's it. This is not about, through the party of women, equality, and all this stuff. And look, you want to talk about abortion? We can have that debate. We have it round and around. We want to protect the little girls who are not yet born. So we can have that debate all day long. But that's a debate we have had repeatedly. But what we're saying here is we want to ensure that our little girls can engage in athletic activity and not be competing against dudes. I would yield to the gentlelady from Wyoming if she wants that time.
You bet, because I'm just going to briefly speak on the amendment. The over-the-top rhetoric put forth in support of this amendment, I think, gives up the game. The fact is that all you need to do to determine sex is a cheek swab. If you're an XX or an XY, you're either a boy or a girl. It's that simple. This isn't complicated. It's not like we haven't known what women and men were for not just a matter of years, but decades and centuries and thousands of years before that. The fact that we're having this conversation and this debate just absolutely epitomizes the left's ongoing effort to rewrite the English language in order to change the debate and destroy civil order. Cisgender is a made-up word. Cisgender that means nothing. Do not call me cisgender. I am a woman. This gentleman sitting next to me, he is a man. That's who he is. That is what our title is. That is what we have been described throughout history. This bill does nothing to prohibit men from competing.
Now, I wanted to pause it for just a second. I like how she brought up the whole cisgender thing, because guess what? It is a made-up word. Because, see, that's a part of the religion. That's a part of the state religion. The LGBTQ2 spirit. Okay? Or plus 2 spirit, right? LGBTQ plus 2 spirit. Okay. That is the state religion, because see, they have to have you believe something even if it isn't true. And what she did right there proves it. Because she said that's a made up word. That is just something you made up. Yeah, because that's a part of their religion. And they will demonize you. Oh, you're just, no, I'm not a cisgender. I'm a woman. Like she said, I'm a woman. That's it. There are men and women walking the planet, period. Period. Nobody's trying to become an ornate toaster. Okay? Even though people think they can swap out body parts and believe things that are not true. But they will not acknowledge the fact that we are living under a weird state religion that's a cult. By the way, it is what it is. Say it. Just say it. But I love this. I love this exchange, because she says, I am not a cisgender. That is a made-up word, and it is. Because now you would have to say, well, what's the origin of it? And what's the purpose of it? And why are you talking like that? Because you are a part of a cult. Period. It is cult behavior, because you have to explain it. I don't have to explain being a woman. I'm a woman. That's kind of it. That's where the conversation starts and stops. Now, if a man walks in here and he's like, I'm a woman too. No, you're not. Why am I not? Because you have a penis. You don't have a vagina. It's real simple. It's real simple. It's real easy. It's just that simple. But they want to make it difficult. It's what you believe. It's what you feel. It's nah. See, that's where the cult comes in. That's where the new state religion is. And that is where we are.
In men's sports, I will repeat, this bill does nothing to prohibit men from competing in men's sports. It does prohibit men from competing in women's sports. It is that simple. All we have to do is look at what happened during the Paris Olympics, where we watched a dude beat the hell out of a woman in a boxing match, and we have people on the other side of the aisle who actually believe that that is okay. That man is not a woman. He has been tested repeatedly. That is a man, and he will not be allowed to compete against women in the future because he is a man. We do not want men beating up women. We do not want men in women's soccer or volleyball or basketball or rugby or swimming or any other athletic competition. This isn't difficult. All you need to do for any kind of determination for sex is a cheek swab. The fact that you guys are talking about doing these inspections of people, and the fact that the Boxing Association used to do that, that's sick. That is sick. This isn't complicated, and the fact that you're trying to make it complicated gives up the game. We want to protect women and girls. It's that simple. That's what this bill does. This amendment means nothing. It does nothing to protect women. It does nothing to protect women athletics. That is the reason why every person in this room, especially the women, should vote against it. I yield back.
Again, we are dealing with a state religion, which is something we're not supposed to have because that is in violation of the Constitution. But here we are. And see, they want to say, well, it's just ideologies. And then stop lying. Stop lying. Stop lying to us. It's disgusting. All right. Let's get to this last one, this political fallout.
16,000 illegal aliens in Vermont compared to 2.7 million illegal aliens in the state of Texas in a report demonstrating state-by-state data. And with that, I would recognize my friend from Texas, Mr. Gill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing and for fighting so hard against destructive mass migration. And thank you for the witnesses for taking the time to be here. Mr. Sands, if somebody crosses the border illegally, what should happen to them?
Federal law indicates that there are steps that can be taken to remove them. Now, that can happen at the border,
so they should
or
be
it can
deported.
happen when they are integrated into society. There are protections once you're integrated into society, especially
But
depending
if
on
they're
how long.
if we find them crossing into the country illegally, they should be deported. To put it simply, is that right?
If someone does not have a right to enter, yes, there is a right under federal law to interdict them and prevent them from entering.
Right.
That's been a basic element of immigration law for a very long time.
I agree.
Including during Plyler.
I agree. Do you believe that American tax dollars should be used to rehabilitate criminal and illegal aliens within our own borders?
I believe it's in our own interest to rehabilitate anybody who commits a crime.
Including criminal and illegal aliens
If it happens within our borders, if it happens within our borders, it's to the benefit of all of us to rehabilitate them. Rehabilitation of those who are convicted of criminals is not for their own benefit. It's for the benefit of society.
How many?
Okay, this is another one with this cult mentality, with thinking that it's okay. You know, if somebody is within our borders and they're here illegally, they need to be immediately deported when they commit a crime, period. Oh, that's right. They're here illegally, so they've committed a crime, so they should be deported. Like, look, what are we talking about? They shouldn't be here. If you came over here illegally, you are a criminal, period. Full stop. Get out. Go back to your home country, period. Now, these other ones over here that weren't vetted, okay? Not even talking about the refugees and the asylum seekers. They're here too. And if they violate the law, they should be immediately deported. But this dude, Mr. Sanez, he's like, well, if they're within our borders, we should rehabilitate them. What? You don't want to rehabilitate American citizens, but you want our tax dollars to rehabilitate these other people? See, you missed me.
Criminal and illegal aliens should we rehabilitate?
Again, anyone who commits a crime and is convicted of a crime should be rehabilitated
So there's no
for the
limit.
benefit of the entire
So an illegal alien
society.
comes into our country, murders or rapes somebody, we ought to rehabilitate them, is your view. And there's no limit to the number of illegal alien criminals we should rehabilitate. Is that your testimony?
I wasn't asked to testify about that, Congressman. I asked to testify
I'm
about
just clarifying
Plyler.
your
Not sure
your
what
position.
this has to do with
I'm clarifying
Plyler.
your position, which you just attempted
I think
to lay
my
out.
position is quite clear. Thank you.
Okay, how much money should we spend on rehabilitating criminal and illegal aliens?
We should spend as much money as necessary to rehabilitate anyone who is convicted of crime in this country. Again,
As much
this
no-
let me just note, Congressman, it has nothing to do with Plyler versus Doe.
No, we're
These are
getting
children.
there.
These
We're
are
getting
children,
there.
and with
We
an
should-
education,
should we-
they are far
Sir, we're-
less
we're
likely
getting there, and you're
to
here to
ever
answer my
commit a crime.
questions, actually. Couldn't we just secure the border and deport illegal aliens as opposed to rehabilitating them on our own tax dollars?
So that's too facile, Congressmember, and I think you should understand that. The simple fact is society benefits from rehabilitation. It's not a gift to anyone who's convicted
Society's
of a crime.
paying
It's
for
society.
rehabilitation, it sounds like. Do you believe that there should be a strict wall of separation between local law enforcement and immigration officials?
Do I believe there should be such a law? Yes, I do.
That there should be a strict wall, to be clear. a strict wall of separation.
All
between
laws are strict. I'm not aware of Congress or any legislature passing.
Okay, since this dude doesn't realize what he's saying, what he's saying is, everybody do your job. If your job is immigration, then do your job. If your job is local law enforcement, then do your job. The only place where local and federal cross, especially when it comes to immigration, is if someone's here illegally and they are apprehended and then they want to call on ICE enforcement, right, to come and pick this person up. That's kind of it. That's kind of it. And I wanted to get to Spud's comment. It says Obama, the darling of her party, has Jasmine fighting for trans rights while he hesitated to support real women like Kamala. Okay. And he supported Tallarico over her. Talk to Obama about women support. Yeah, there might be a few reasons why he's supporting Tallarico, because Tallarico supports the trans movement. He supports this state religion because he's a part of it. And Kamala, she is a woman. She definitely is that. And Spud says, since they want to rehabilitate and harbor criminals, they should be charged on aiding and abetting. I'm down with that. And Beginner's Fitness Journey says they don't even try to rehabilitate citizens in prison. They don't. And they need to do more of that. But hey, they have to have their slave class, right? You guys got to remember, these prisons are big business. It is a private-public partnership. Look up prison REITs whenever you get a chance. Oops. Let me add that back to the stage.
Law. It's wall, W-A-L-L.
So
a
law.
Strict wall, W-A-L-L.
Oh, wall. I'm sorry,
Yes,
I thought
sir.
you said law.
No.
I apologize.
A strict wall of separation.
I think a wall would be incredibly ridiculous, frankly.
A wall of separation between local law enforcement and immigration officials.
Oh, a wall of separation. Okay. Yes, Congressmember, yes. Again, I do believe there should be a law of separation. And if you want to describe that law metaphorically as a wall,
okay,
I would accept that.
Okay, I was actually using your words where you said there should be a strict wall of no cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. That's something that you had said in an interview with NPR in November of 2016. So if police arrest...
So I've just acknowledged that.
Right.
So
if
not sure why you're putting myself to myself. I'm sure that interview was not about
I'm the one asking questions here, not you. If police arrest an illegal alien for breaking into somebody's home in the middle of the night, should they turn that illegal alien over to immigration officials?
So Plyler versus Doe guarantees an education.
It's just a yes
and
or no
as a result, that means that those kids who receive that education are far less likely to break into anyone's home, Congressman.
But I'm asking, let's say they do. Should they be turned over to immigration officials? It's just a yes or no question.
No, they should be put through the criminal law system that we have.
What about after serving, let's say they're convicted and they serve a sentence. And this is a criminal and legal alien, they broke into somebody's home, they're convicted, they serve let's say a 5-year sentence. Instead of releasing them onto the street, should local law enforcement or prison officials really give them over to immigration officials?
There are too many repercussions of a policy like that. You're putting it in the context of a single instance.
No, it's
very difficult.
It's very clear that your answer is no.
No, that's not clear, sir. That's not clear, sir. Please don't put words in my mouth. You have my words from NPR, and what I say here, you don't need to put words in my mouth.
Should American taxpayers pay for Medicaid for illegal aliens?
In many circumstances, yes.
They should.
Not just American taxpayers, but immigrant taxpayers who also pay taxes as well.
Pay for Social
As you know,
Security for
sir,
illegal
there is no
aliens?
exception for taxpaying based on immigration status.
I'm the one who's asking questions here. Should American taxpayers pay for Social Security for illegal aliens? It's a yes or no question. I think the answer is no.
It's not a yes or no question. It doesn't happen. We don't provide Social Security benefits to undocumented people. I wasn't aware that was a topic of today's hearing.
I don't think that should happen, and I'm asking you if you think it should happen.
The last question, the witness may answer the question.
I don't believe that that's a question when it doesn't happen. It's misleading to suggest it does. No one who's undocumented
It's a really basic question,
Social
and you don't want to
Security.
answer it because you've got a crazy radical open borders agenda that we can all see. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think
Actually, there are a list of people that have status, right? See, they never talk about this part. So status, that still doesn't make you an American citizen, right? But then they want to use this status to say that you're not here illegally. They have parole in the United States that's still receiving Social Security, to my knowledge. I have to go and see if the list has been revamped. But they have people from Afghanistan. They have people, I think there's like at least a list of 8 different statuses that are not American born citizens that do receive Social Security. So it is a very convoluted question because he's asking a direct question. Do illegals get Social Security? And the man's like, no, they wouldn't. No. And he's right. It's not somebody here illegally. It's somebody under a status that's getting it, but they're still not a naturalized citizen, nor are they an American citizen. But it's happening. It's crazy. Insane. And with that, let's get into our prayer for this weekend because there's a lot that we have to pray about. There truly, truly is. So God, thank you so much for this day. We're praying Thanksgiving and cover going into this new beginning. Saturday and Sunday, we're just praying, God, that you look over the servicemen and women that will be going to Iran during this conflict. Father, please protect them. Also, we're praying for the families who have lost individuals in this conflict. God, just praying for their comfort, Father. And we're just so grateful for everything that you are doing to protect us, God, to lead and guide us, to open up our minds and our hearts, Father. We're just praying for protection here in the United States. God, there were so many unfortunate incidents that happened last weekend, Father. We are praying that for protection, God. We're praying that any type of evil that people are trying to commit, that you protect the individuals and that you thwart any evil trying to bestow itself on our great nation, God. And we're just so grateful for everything that you do and everything that you're going to do and everything that you've done for us, Father. And it is in your Son, Jesus, Yeshua's name, that we pray and give thanks. Amen. So with that, I will see you guys on Monday. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.